Los mandatos. We already know that the verb mandar usually uses the subjunctive. For example, in our Cinderella story, la madrina de Cenicienta siempre le manda que haga todos los quehaceres de la casa. Well, you can tell by the word mandar that is somebody telling someone else to do something, and commands really borrow from the subjunctive, except for two commands. We're going to talk about two commands in a moment. If there are, just hold on with that thought for a moment. But most commands, whether you're telling somebody polite, or you're saying us, let's do it, or a you guys command, those do use the subjunctive. So you'll probably recognize some of these commands that you've heard your teacher say before. Clase, siéntense. Escuchen, por favor. If you think about that for a minute, sentarse, siéntense, there's the subjunctive. Escuchar, escuchen. So why are we using the subjunctive? It doesn't follow our formula with the bridge that we've used, but really we could say that commands are kind of a cousin to the subjunctive. They use the forms even though it's not classified as subjunctive, it's classified as commands. But you'll recognize a lot of the forms today. So I wanted to mention that. Are all commands subjunctive? Well, you tell me. Ayúdame, por favor. Is that subjunctive? It's not. Ayudar is an AR verb. So other commands that you might recognize that would say not subjunctive, ven aquí, dilo en español. But how about this one? No me lo digas en inglés. Wait a minute. Say it in Spanish, don't say it in English. Why is the say it in Spanish not subjunctive and don't say it in English is? Well, the answer is that there are two kinds of commands. Mandatos afirmativos y mandatos negativos. So what's an affirmative command anyway? That's just a fancy way of saying do this. Practica el piano. But don't practice it right now. Your brother's sleeping. Pero no lo practiques ahora porque tu hermano está durmiendo. Do you notice practica and practiques are pretty different from each other? So we could say that all commands except for affirmative to commands use the subjunctive. Now, think about that for a minute. An affirmative means I'm telling somebody do it, and tú means I'm talking to somebody who is my friend. So, imagine I'm talking to somebody, and we have to decide who I'm talking to, and I want to tell them to turn, and I use the verb doblar. So, this is a confusing chart, I know, but the ones on the left here recognize saying do it, represent saying do it, turn, and this tells who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to a tú, I would say, hey, dobla, por favor. Don't turn. To that same tú, I would say, no dobles. If I were being more polite, I would say, doble usted, or no doble. What if I was saying, hey, let's us do this? This would be a nosotros command. I didn't have room to do it, but doblemos. No doblemos would be let's not do it. Let's not turn. I don't know what the context here. Vosotros in España. So some of you have gone to the immersion school or recognize vosotros commands. Doblad and no dobléis. And ustedes doblen, no doblen. That's a you guys command. So wait a second. This chart probably doesn't mean anything to you yet, but let's just notice that for an AR verb, everything on this chart, whether it's positive or negative in usted, or we, or vosotros negative, everything except the affirmative tú and the affirmative vosotros commands are in the subjunctive. So I don't want to confuse you today. We're not going to do affirmative tú, and we're not going to do affirmative vosotros. I want to focus on all the other subjunctive forms today. To do that, remember, find the yo form of a verb like tengo, drop the o, and add the opposite endings. So let's do some expressions with tener. Tenga cuidado, tenga mucho cuidado. That would be to an usted form. Maybe you've heard before ten cuidado, and we might mention that, but ten would be to a tú person, and usted is tenga. If you talk to a group, no tengan miedo, don't be afraid. So what we could observe is that depending on who I'm talking to, if I leave out the tu form, then it's easy to spot usted. I will say tenga cuidado. Let's be careful. Tengamos cuidado. So I'm going to skip vosotros. Ustedes tengan cuidado. Let's pick a more interesting verb here. I've got besar. So no beses, don't kiss. Bese, usted, no bese, besemos. I don't know. It's not sure why I've got this verb. Let's try another AR verb. But you notice here everything is opposite except this represents the affirmative side and the negative because I know it says don't. And this is tú, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ustedes, which are really all the command forms I could possibly have. Here's one you've probably heard before. If you want to say sorry or excuse me in Latin America, often people will say disculpe. If you mess up, you can say disculpe. It's like sorry, excuse me. It's a light sorry. It's not as strong as lo siento. If you're going to ask someone on the street for some directions and you want to get their attention, you might say, excuse me, disculpe, ¿podría ayudarme? You try saying that. Disculpe, ¿podría ayudarme? That's, excuse me, could you help me? Disculpe. That sounds pretty formal here with could you help me, but I'm being polite here. Disculpe. Let's do some more verbs. How about empezar? Depending on who I'm talking to, if I'm saying to one person, I'm going to say empieza, which is not subjunctive. That's the point of the yellow box, is to show you that there are rules for affirmative to commands. But if I'm telling one person, that's my friend, I'll say empieza. But if I'm telling the whole class, the way this chart is organized, that's the bottom row, ustedes, I would say clase, empiecen, begin, at the start of a test. Or let's begin, we form, empecemos. Let's look at some subjunctive forms on some comedy here. No sigas el láser, Carl. Es lo que los humanos quieren. Don't follow the laser, Carl. It's what the humans want. Please don't do it. Don't follow it. Seguir. No sigas. No sigas. Let's do another one. Si es privado, no lo pongas en Facebook. If it's private, don't put it on Facebook. Don't do it. This one here is not necessarily comedy here, but we can repair, sort of is, we can repair anything. So, toque fuerte en la puerta, el timbre no funciona. So we can fix anything except our doorbell, right? The doorbell doesn't work. So, do you notice toque gets spelled with a Q-U-E? So, that's an usted command there. Toque in the subjunctive. Irony, right? La encontramos donde menos lo esperas. La encuentras donde menos lo esperas. You find it where you least expect it. So they can fix anything except their doorbell. Disculpen que está muy pequeño la foto, pero no te olvides de sonreír. Don't forget to smile. I'm going to have you tell me not to forget something. You're going to type it in the comments box. No te olvides de is don't forget to. So one more time, you'll say, no te olvides de, I'll give you some examples. No te olvides de escribir su nombre en su papel. Something a teacher might say. You fill in no te olvides de plus an infinitive. You're not going to put any conjugation after that because of the word de. What you're practicing is no te olvides from the verb olvidar. Okay, ahora les toca a ustedes. It's your turn now. Let's say imagine we're going to do hablar, and we're going to avoid the to form. We're just going to focus on usted, nosotros, and vosotros. Remove the o from the yo form. Well, the yo form is normally hablo in the indicative. That's just word for normal, non-subjunctive. So to create the subjunctive, I will think, okay, habl. For an usted command here, I would say hable. So that would be telling somebody, speak, hable. What if you wanted to say, hey, let's talk in Spanish, class. So if you notice, AR verbs are borrowing from the ER side. I've got these reversed, right? They're opposite. So normally I would say nosotros, I would think hablamos. But I want to say, Hey, let's talk in Spanish, guys. Hablemos en español. Hablemos. There it is. Or you guys. I want to tell the class. Class, talk quietly, please. Hablen en voz baja. Here are some examples. Again, no hable en la biblioteca. Don't talk in the library. And I'm being polite. Hablemos en inglés. Let's talk in English, class. Or hablen en voz baja. Talk in a soft voice. No hablen en voz alta. En la biblioteca. We're talking about the library here. Okay, let's talk about cargar-sar. And you, I think, know this, but we'll have some spelling changes in the subjunctive forms. And that's because, if we really think about it, the letter C has two sounds in Spanish, just like in English. I have cantar, cortar, and cumbia, but centavo and ciudad. It depends what letter comes after it. So if I want to keep it busk sound, followed by an E, I have to change the spelling. Busque, busquemos. That would be true of sacar too. Let's try sacar. So to avoid sase, that says sase. I want it to say sake. I would say, spell it like that. Saque usted su papel y libro, por favor. Or saquen ustedes la tarea. You probably heard me say that lots of times. Another class command you've probably heard a lot is siéntense clase. Just thinking about it, it's sentarse, normally an AR verb. So, but it's reflexive, so I do have to change the me to the, in usted it's going to be say. Ustedes say again. So, siéntese usted or siéntense ustedes. I think just treat them as vocab words, really. You're not going to think that deeply in the moment. Okay, you're going to recognize now some irregulars. No me digas. No me digas. You don't say. Or dígalo en español, por favor. The yellows are irregular. I'll mention that in a moment. But just focusing on the other ones, they're all based on finding the yo form, right? Salgo, and I get no salgas. No pongas, right? Don't put your feet on the desk. No pongas los pies en el escritorio, por favor. No seas. No seas. Something parents might say. No seas mentiroso. How about no vengas? No vayas? No hagas? No hagas eso. Don't do that. No tengas. No sigas. No veas. Those are ones that, well, that one actually isn't irregular, but these other ones had irregularities in the yo form. Have a way to help you remember that, and that is very cheesy here, but I don't know if you even know who Ben Diesel is, but Ben Diesel has 10 weapons, Vin Diesel has 10 weapons, and here they're baby bottles, if you've seen that movie. He has 10 weapons. That's because those were forms with go, so haga, diga, ponga, and those happen to have irregular to commands. Again, that's not the point of today's lesson, but haz, di, pon, sal, ven, di, no digas, ven, no vengas, ve, no vayas, say, no seas, sal, no salgas. You might recognize these. Today I'm just trying to kind of expose you. I don't expect mastery of everything. Imagine, imagínense un diablo y un ángel. Which voice are you going to listen to here? Maybe you felt this way through schooling. Should I do my homework today, or should I sit around in bed? Hago la tarea hoy. Let's think through the affirmative. The angel would be saying, sí, hazla, or el diablo, no la hagas, la representa la tarea. If you made this an usted command, it would be simply hágala and no la hagas. So the challenge is when you've got two, but if you use usted, you're always going to use subjunctive in any command. Here's a couple more. Okay, notice the spelling change there. Let's pretend that you're the teacher now, and I want you to give commands to your entire class. That's AR is going to be EN, right? Hablen, no hablen en clase. Presten atención, muchachos. Abran sus libros.